They thought fencing me out would shut me down. They built their fancy metal gate, smiling like they just buried my freedom. But instead of fighting in court, I got creative. I turned their fence into profit, a toll gate they'd have to pay every single time they crossed my land. My name's Ethan Morgan, a 38-year-old business consultant who traded city chaos for peace on a 30-acre ranch outside Austin, Texas. I'd always dreamed of a simple life where I could grow my own food, raise animals, and build whatever I wanted with my own two hands. I wasn't some cowboy cliché. I was a mix of tech nerd and rancher. I automated my irrigation, wired my chicken coop to open and close at sunrise and sunset, and even set up sensors that texted me when one of my goats was about to give birth. Life was quiet, fulfilling, and mine. I didn't bother anyone, didn't need approval from anyone, and didn't expect trouble from anyone either. But peace never lasts long when power-hungry people smell control, and that's exactly what moving down the road. For 2 years, life rolled by easy. My neighbors were good folks, especially Frank and Eleanor Hamilton, an elderly couple who bought eggs and veggies from me every weekend. Frank helped me fix things around the property, and Eleanor always showed up with her famous blueberry pies in return. Every morning, I'd sit on my porch with a mug of black coffee, watching the sunrise stretch across my pastures, thinking, this is what freedom feels like. The road leading to my ranch was old, older than most of the houses around it. It passed through a nearby community called Golden Meadows, run by the local HOA. I wasn't part of their neighborhood, but I had a legal easement, meaning I had every right to use that road. Everything worked fine until one letter in my mailbox changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I found a fancy envelope stamped with a Golden Meadows HOA logo. Inside was a letter filled with legal jargon, claiming I was using their private road illegally. At first, I laughed. I'd seen the easement papers myself when I bought the ranch. It wasn't just permission, it was permanent legal access. But curiosity got the better of me, so I decided to attend their next HOA meeting to clear up the confusion. When I walked into that room, every head turned. 20 polished homeowners in designer clothes stared like I was dirt on their marble floors. At the front stood a man who looked like he sold luxury cars for a living. Tall, slicked back hair, perfect smile. He introduced himself as Maxwell Bennett, the new HOA president. By the end of that meeting, I realized this wasn't about road usage. Maxwell wanted my land, and the road was his weapon to take it. 2 mornings later, I woke to the sound of heavy machinery. Bulldozers, drills, and hammers echoed down my driveway. When I drove out, I saw them. Construction workers putting up an 8-foot metal fence and a massive electronic gate right across the only road to my ranch. Maxwell stood there in his spotless shoes, holding a clipboard like a king surveying his kingdom. "This is HOA property now, Mr. Morgan," he said, smirking. "You'll need an access card, $300 a year. You can apply today if you want to avoid any inconvenience." My blood boiled. "You can't do this. I have a recorded easement." He shrugged. "Times change. So do rules." That night, I called Olivia, a real estate attorney and an old friend. She confirmed what I already knew. My easement was valid, but legal battles take time. I didn't have time. They were already sealing me in. A few days later, I walked the property line with my survey map. Something fell off. The fence didn't sit where it should. I pulled out old boundary markers, checked coordinates, and realized something incredible. Part of the new gate, about 3 feet of it, was actually built on my land. Olivia verified it with a licensed surveyor. "If that's true," she said, "then that gate technically belongs to you. Or at least, it sits on your property. You have control over what happens there." That was the moment my anger turned into a plan. I wasn't going to beg them for access. I wasn't going to tear down the gate either. If they wanted to charge me for using a road I legally owned, I'd return the favor, legally and publicly. And I knew exactly how. That weekend, I called my buddy Ryan, a contractor who shared my hatred for pushy HOAs. We worked overnight, building a professional-looking toll booth right next to their shiny gate. On my side of the line, I wired it with solar panels, installed cameras, and set up a digital payment terminal connected to my phone. By dawn, it looked legit, a clean booth, striped barrier arm, and a bright sign that read, "Private toll road, $20 per crossing or $100 monthly pass." When the first residents drove up, their expressions were priceless. Shock, disbelief, and pure frustration. One woman rolled down her window, shouting, "You can't do this." I smiled. Ma'am, according to your HOA, this isn't a public road. So yes, I can. Word spread fast. Within hours, I was collecting payments, and within days, the entire community was talking about the rancher who turned HOA greed into a toll road. By the third day, Maxwell showed up, red-faced and furious. What the hell is this, Morgan? You can't charge people to use our road. I stayed calm. Your road? That section is on my property. You fenced me in. Now you get to pay to cross out. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. 20 minutes later, Officer Ramirez arrived, a man I'd met before when someone trespassed on my ranch. He listened to both sides, then examined my documents. Finally, he turned to Maxwell. Sir, the gate is partially on Mr. Morgan's land. This is a civil matter, not a criminal one. In other words, Maxwell lost. As the officer drove away, the president stood speechless, surrounded by neighbors filming on their phones. I just leaned against my booth and said, "You wanted control, remember? Now you get to pay for it." A few days later, a local journalist reached out after hearing about the toll booth rancher. I showed her the documents, the footage, and the entire story. Her article blew up, thousands of comments praising the Texas man who outsmarted the HOA. But things got worse for Maxwell. Security footage from my cameras caught him and two men vandalizing my booth at night. They spray-painted the sign and tried to smash the payment terminal. What they didn't know was that I had hidden cameras recording everything from multiple angles and cloud backups. The next morning, I posted the video online. By evening, it went viral. The HOA board turned against Maxwell. Residents started questioning every fee, every policy, every decision he'd made. When his real estate ties to a shady development company came out, it was over. He wasn't just controlling roads, he was trying to force me to sell my land for profit. Within a week, Dito fired Maxwell and tore down their gate. They apologized and even reimbursed me for legal costs. As for me, I took the money I'd earned from that toll booth, over $15,000, and started a small land rights defense fund to help others fight HOA abuse. I threw a big barbecue, invited every neighbor who stood by me, and watched kids run through the same open road that had once been blocked by greed. Standing there, I realized something. They tried to fence me in, to take what was mine. But they forgot one thing: you can't box in a man who knows his rights. So, the next time someone builds a wall in your way, build your own gate and make them pay to pass through it.